Hey guys, so I'm going to go over the quiz we had on writing linear equations for word problems using slope-intercept form. So just starting right at the beginning, 400 kids on the first day of school, 3 new kids joined school each week. Okay? They want me to write an equation in slope-intercept form that models this situation. So I know I need to end up with something that looks like this, okay? So they asked me to define the variables. This is where I see some people having difficulty. X is not 3 or 3 new kids. I'll come back to that. X is actually how many weeks we're talking about, the number of weeks. The reason I know that it's the number of weeks is because when I look at my equation, X is where there's something happening, some sort of rate of change every time there's an instance of X. So in this case, the rate of change is 3 new kids every week. So X is how many weeks are we talking about? Right? Y, I can already kind of see where this is leading. If I'm going to talk about how many weeks I've had, how many kids have joined the school each week, times the number of weeks, plus how many I started with, right? When X was 0, what was my y-intercept? How many I started with? That's my 400. So if I look at that piece of it, y is going to be the total number of kids after however many weeks I'm talking about. Okay. So if I want a formula for this situation, the total number of kids will be equal to how many weeks I'm talking about times 3 new kids that join each week plus the number of kids I started with, 400. Okay? And just so this makes a little sense to you, one way to think about this could be using a table. Okay? So for example, if I have no weeks have passed, I'm at the beginning, right? How many total kids would I have? Well, I put 0 in for X. 3 times 0 is just 0, right? There's no kids that have been added. It's the very start of school. So the total number of kids I have at 0 weeks, the start of school, is 400. Right? If I were talking about the total number of kids I have after 1 week, well, I put 1 in for X. 3 kids would have joined after 1 week, 3 times 1. Plus the 400 I started with, so 403 kids. Okay. The second week, after 2 weeks, if I put 2 in for X, well, 3 times 2, 3 kids each week for 2 weeks. 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 400 I started with, 406. And I could keep going, right? If I look at 3 weeks, I put 3 in for X. For 3 weeks, where I have 3 new kids join each week, I would have had 3 times 3, or 9 kids join after 3 weeks, plus 400 that I started with, so that'd be 409. And you see each time the change is 3 new kids. 3 new kids every 1 week. 3 new kids every 1 week, right? 3 new kids every 1 week. That's my slope. If I were graphing this, that would be my rise over run. Okay, that's my rate of change. 3 new kids every week. All right, so coming over here, after 5 weeks, they want to know how many kids are at this school. Well, my formula says y equals 3x plus 400. They're giving me a number of weeks, so I'm going to put that in for x. Every week that passes, 3 new kids join. So the total number of kids who've joined after 5 weeks is 3 times 5, 15, plus 400. That gives me 415 kids. Right? I need to be including labels. So 415 kids that would be at this school after 5 weeks. Okay. Continuing on. I'm now talking about a house that costs $300,000 to buy. Okay. and then $1,000 each month. Okay, so I'm hearing a rate of change, $1,000 each month for maintenance and utility. They want an equation in slope-intercept form. I'm using my circling skill, right? Y equals mx plus b. Okay, I'm going to define my variables. Well, x, right? What's x going to be? Well, if it's $1,000 each month, and I want to know, like over here, how much I've spent after a certain number of months, x is going to be my number of months. Okay. And y will be my total cost or total spend, something about money. Total dollars spent or total cost, total money, something of that sort. So if I look at my equation, y, the total amount of money I spend on this house, will be how many months I've been in the house. That's my x. It's $1,000 each month, so I'm going to multiply my x by 1,000 plus the $300,000 that it cost me to buy the house initially. And then I come over here and it says, well, how much money have I spent after 4 months? Okay, well, I'm going to use my equation. I know it's $1,000 each month, and then I have to add the $300,000 I spent initially to buy the house. They want to know after 4 months, so I'm going to put 4 in for x, because that's my number of months. And I get 4,000 plus 300,000, or 304,000, and my units here are dollars. Okay, so $304,000. All right, number 5. Sorry, just trying to get this straight for you guys. My thing is crooked here. Yeah, well, we'll make it work. Okay, so now we're talking about food. Food. A meal is costing $5, not including sauce. Sauces are 50 cents each. Okay, so I'm hearing about something where there's a rate of change. For every sauce, it costs me $50. Okay, so I can imagine a table. What is $50? 50 cents, I mean. I can imagine a table. 1 sauce, 50 cents. 2 sauce, 2 times 50 cents, or $1. 3 sauces, 3 times 50 cents, and so on. All right, so they, again, want an equation in slope-intercept form that models the situation. X is going to be my number of sauces, because depending on how many sauces I have, that will change the cost. And then Y is going to be my total cost for the meal, okay, including the sauces. All right, so my total cost for this meal will be how many sauces I'm getting. Each sauce is 50 cents. Be careful, 50 cents, 0.50, because I'm going to be figuring out this cost in dollars. I could figure it out in cents, but that would be a little bit awkward. We don't usually talk about spending 700 cents on something. Usually we talk about, dollars. Okay, so 50 cents, 0.5 or 0.50 times the number of sauces plus the base cost of the meal, right? That base cost of the meal, I'm paying $5, and then it's just a matter of how many sauces I want. Then I come over here. If I buy 3 sauces, well, here's my equation. I'm buying 3 sauces. How much in total do I spend to eat? Well, I'm going to put in my number of sauces. 3 times 50 cents, well, that's $1.50, plus the $5 it cost me initially. And altogether, that's going to be $6.50. And I need to show that's dollars. That's my unit, $6.50. Okay. All right, let's look on the back. On the back, the first question is about a prison break. We have 100 inmates escaping immediately, so at the beginning, and then 2 more every minute. Okay, write an equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, that models the situation. Well, x is going to be my number of minutes. because depending on how many minutes have passed, that will determine how many inmates may have escaped. And Y is going to be the total number of inmates who have escaped. So if I'm talking about the total number of inmates who have escaped, I need to know how many minutes have passed. That's X. For each of those, I'm going to multiply by 2, because it's 2 inmates every minute, 2 being my slope, plus the 100 inmates who immediately got out of there. Okay. They want to know, over here, how many prisoners have escaped after 10 minutes. Well, I've got my formula. I know X is the number of minutes, so I'm going to put in 10 for that. 2 times 10 equals 20 plus 100, which means I had 120 inmates escape after 10 minutes. All right, number 9, the Fortnite question. Battle Pass in Fortnite is 900 V-Bucks, and each tier is 150 V-Bucks. So they want us to, us to model this situation in slope-intercept form. Okay. Well, I see what's changing has to do with each tier. So X is going to be my number of tiers. Okay, I need to know that. And then Y will be my total cost. And this is going to be in V-Bucks. Okay, I learned something about Fortnite here. All right, so my total cost in V-Bucks is going to depend on how many tiers I'm getting, times 150 V-Bucks for each tier. And then I have the $900 I have to pay out at the start for the Battle Pass. Okay. So then up here they want to know, how much am I spending if I include 4 tiers? Well, I'm going to use the equation I just came up with. I have my value for X. That value is 4 tiers. I know 4 times 150 is 600. And when I add these together, I find out it's 1,500 or 1,500 V-Bucks. All right, the last one, the exercise club. Okay, again, remember you can pause at any time. For the exercise club, got a situation here where I'm joining an exercise club. There's a startup fee and a $5 monthly fee. So each month I'm paying $5. They want an equation in slope-intercept form that models the situation. Y equals mx plus b. Okay. X is going to be my number of months. I need to know that to know how many times I've paid $5. Y is going to be my total cost. That's what I'd be interested in knowing about this situation. So my total cost is going to equal the number of months times $5 for each month, because that's my monthly fee, plus the $40 I had to pay as a startup fee. Okay. So when I come over here and they ask me how much did this cost for 10 months, I can input that for my number of months to get Y equals 5 times 10 months plus that startup fee, or 50 plus that startup fee, or $90 total for that period of time, dollars being my units. Okay. And then lastly, for the extra credit, 7/4 times 4/7. Well, I'm going to rewrite that in this version of a fraction form. I know if I'm multiplying, I multiply across the top. I multiply across the bottom. Okay? Be careful, this is not cross multiplication. We're not going diagonal. That only happens when we do a proportion. This is just multiplication of fractions. Multiply across my denominator, my numerator, and then multiply across my denominator. Multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. Okay, so I end up with 7 times 4, 28, over 4 times 7, and 28 over 28 is just 1. Okay, if you have any questions, come see me. Thanks.